In West Warwick, Rhode Island tonight, the remains of the rock and roll club known as The Station are being treated as a crime scene. Investigators searching for answers and accountability in one of the most deadly nightclub disasters in U.S. history. The fire last week, set off by sparks from a pyrotechnic device, spread with alarming speed. What separated those who made it out from the nearly 100 others who did not? Tonight, the story of one of the lucky ones. In the fire and smoke and panic, trapped beneath the dead and dying, he kept his cool, and it saved his life. How fortunate do you feel to be alive?
Very fortunate. When I watched the video, I can't believe that I was actually in there. But I survived, and there's nothing left to the place, except to the bare floor that I was laying on.
You went back yesterday morning?
Yes, with my mother.
Oh, my God.
All right, you okay?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
We got there, and we walked up, and...
You see the banister right here?
I showed her where I was laying.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
You can still see the red tile floor of where I was laying, trapped under a bunch of bodies, live, barely alive, dead bodies. I'm okay, okay? All right.
31-year-old Mike Vargas says next to family, the things he loves most in life are rock music and wrestling. Last Thursday night in West Warwick, Rhode Island, those separate passions came together in a way he could never have imagined. Only this time, when this former high school wrestler found himself pinned to the floor, it may very well have saved his life. Tell me about going to the club that night. Why did you go?
I want to see Great White. It's like my 7th time seeing him.
You're a big fan of the band.
I wouldn't say big fan. I'm a big fan of 80s music and just music in general. I love music. I'm constantly going to shows. I don't have any addictions except music. Yeah, music and wrestling are my only addictions.
You weren't drinking?
I don't drink. I don't drink at all.
Where were you standing when they began performing?
I was about maybe 3 or 4 feet back from the stage and about 3 or 4 feet to the left of Jack Russell.
So you were right up front?
Oh, I was right up front, yes. I was making a point to get right up front.
So when he hit the stage, it was pretty exciting.
Oh, it was unbelievable. The place went nuts.
Mike had seen other bands use pyrotechnics, but never Great White. What did you think when you saw the pyro?
When I saw the pyro, I was like, oh, wow, they're, stepping up their game and just adding more to their stage presence, which they didn't need to do.
But your first reaction was?
Cool, of course. You start seeing things like that, like, oh, wow, cool.
Seconds after Great White started to play, sparks ignited the soundproofing material behind the stage. Mike shouted a warning, his immediate concern for the band. You actually yelled?
Yeah, just everybody was yelling, turn around. Everybody was yelling, turn around, check it out, turn around, turn behind you, because they're facing us, and the flames are behind them. They saw us, they didn't see the flames, so at that point, that's when Jack Russell turned around. The only words we heard him say were, that can't be good. That's when they whisked him off stage, and when I saw that happen, I hadn't seen anybody grabbing for any fire extinguishers or anything like that. I knew that they were going to let that burn. I knew that they weren't going to try and do anything.
Realizing the danger, he began moving away from the stage, working his way through the crowd, back toward the front entrance of the club. Were you hurrying? Were you...
No, I stayed calm, because I figured the doorway, it's not a big club, and I wasn't, when you start walking towards the door, it's not that far away.
And was it getting smoky?
Yes. Before the lights went out, gray smoke came across the room, and right behind the gray smoke was flames. When the lights went out, that's when the panic hit.
So a crush has begun.
Oh, the crowd was
moving toward the door.
People started screaming, get out, get out, get out. People started pushing and shoving. That's when I got pushed down, and I fell down against the wall. And I just...
From the crush of people behind you?
Yes. As soon as I fell forward, it was pitch black.
He had almost reached the front door, but the stampeding crowd had created a lethal bottleneck. The exit blocked by a tangled pile of those who had fallen trying to escape. In a matter of moments, Mike found himself buried beneath an unmovable mountain, 5 feet high, layer upon layer of people with no way out.
And I could feel the people and the pressure building up on me. And it was just the bodies piling one on top of another, just trying to get out. I said, oh my God, I don't want to die like this. But then I realized panicking is not going to help me out of this. So the best thing to do, and my best chance to survive, is to stay calm.
And what kind of a position were you in?
I was on my side. I always knew never lay on your stomach or lay on your back because you can suffocate. You won't be able to breathe. At least on your side, you can still breathe.
So you were in kind of a fetal position
Yes.
at the bottom of this pile.
I was in a fetal position with my knees up against the wall. I started feeling embers and stuff burning on me, on my left leg. It wasn't painful. It was more irritating than anything.
Could you move?
No, I was wedged in there. I had like my hands up like this. I was able to move stuff away from my face if I needed to. And I had like a small little air pocket right in front of me.
And what about the people who were on top of you and around you?
That's the part that was really, really troublesome. They were just screaming in pain and, from anger, it turned to fear. You can sense the change. You can feel the change in their voices. I just heard people screaming in pain and crying, and that went on for about maybe 20, 30 minutes. The screams got more and more intense, and then eventually they started, dwindling down. They started quieting down, and before you know it was quiet. That's when I realized a lot of these people are dead.
But horrifying as it was, the dead and dying were keeping Mike Vargas alive.
I didn't feel any heat whatsoever. Outside of those minor burns on my leg, I didn't feel any heat. So I knew that the bodies were built like a shield over me.
The fact that you were on the bottom of this pile, the last place you'd think you'd want to be, trapped underneath all of these people.
It was actually the safest. It was actually the safest place. And I knew I was close to the front door because I had an air pocket that I was breathing in cold air.
But with the fire still burning and rescue no certainty, Mike prayed to his father. Why your dad?
I lost my father in '94. Heavy equipment operator. He got crushed by a backhoe. And that was really, really, really tough on me.
You feel you have a spiritual connection to him?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I feel he helped me through this because he was the only one I prayed to.
As the ordeal took its toll and he felt like shutting down, he also found another source of strength, his 10-year-old son.
I didn't give up hope. There was a couple times there where I wanted to go to sleep, and I said to myself, if you fall asleep, you're not getting out of this. And every time I wanted to fall asleep, I just started saying my son's name in my head. I kept repeating his name over and over and over in my head. And I kept thinking the worst. And the worst to me was not my dying in the fire, but somebody going to the door and telling my wife and my child that she doesn't have a husband and that he doesn't have a father. That was my worst fear, not me dying.
You knew what it was to lose a father.
Yes, and I don't want my son to ever go through that, ever.
Pinned to the floor in pitch darkness, all Mike could do was wait. He listened for the sounds that would signal, one by one, that help was getting closer.
So I heard the fire trucks. And I said, okay, that's one step closer to me getting out of here. And I said, now I'll just wait till I hear the paramedics and the firemen closer to the building. I heard that, and I heard all their radios and so on. So I said, okay, that's another step. I'm closer to getting out of here. And then I said, okay, now I'm just going to wait until I feel the water.
So how long were you under this pile?
They pulled me out about 12:30. I was in there a good hour and a half.
So the club had burned?
It burnt down all around me, yes. Completely burnt down all around me.
So this was the rescue and recovery effort?
After they got it under control, yes.
As firefighters made their way through what was once the club entrance, they found the pile where the struggle for so many had ended.
I heard one fireman say, oh my God, they're all dead. So that got me kind of nervous, thinking that they're not going to look for any survivors. Then I realized they have to look for survivors. They're not just going to assume.
Were you calling out? Were you yelling to anyone?
Nope. Because I feel if I'm underneath a pile of bodies, what are the odds of them hearing me with everything else that's going on around them? So I tried to conserve as much energy as I could. When I felt the bodies slowly getting pulled off me and the pressure was eventually lifting off of me, I saw some light, so I reached for the light. I'm thinking, where there's light, there's got to be some people. I grabbed a fireman's boot. At that point, I guess I startled him. He reached down, and I grabbed him, and he wouldn't let go of my hand. He wouldn't let go of my hand. That's when they pulled another body off me, and I sat up.
You sat up?
Yeah, I sat up.
In the midst of all of this?
Yes, I sat right up.
What was the firefighter's reaction?
He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. And then I felt somebody behind me. I don't know if it was a firefighter or a victim. It turned out it was a victim. And I just remember her not having any clothes on her. she was just burned really, really bad. And I felt so bad for her that I was yelling to the firefighter to
She was still alive.
She was still alive. She was reaching over me. She was reaching over me. So I was telling the firefighter, just get her, get her. You know, I'm okay. Just get her. And he goes, what's your name? I told him, my name is Mike. I'm okay. My leg's just trapped underneath here, but I'm fine. I can walk out of here. He says, all right, we're going to get you out of here. And that's when I started telling him to take the girl behind me, just because, you know, she's worse off than I am.
Though he walked out on his own, Mike was quickly placed on a gurney. Soaked and shivering, the expression on his face said it all. But his only physical injuries, 4 burns on his left leg. When he called his wife Melanie from the hospital that night to let her know he was okay, she was asleep and had heard nothing about the fire.
I said, stay calm. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm just at the hospital. I was in a fire, but I'm okay. Nice and calm. Her first reaction was, well, I got to get to work in the morning. Do you want me to get you? Are you going to be all right? And that's when I told her, I guess you don't know how bad it was.
And then I got up and I put the news on and I saw it, and it still didn't hit me. I never imagined that. Never thought that I almost lost my husband.
I'm just happy that I got you.
Okay.
But Mike's mother imagined she had lost her son.
I thought the way I got the message was that he got burned. I thought I was gonna identify a body. But when I got in there and they showed me he was okay, all I had to do was hold him and thank God that my son was alive. Unlike so many others that lost theirs.
Everything was okay until I saw my son. Then I broke down.
Just hugging him.
I wouldn't let him go. It was tough, but it was the greatest moment in my life, outside of when he was born.
You've cheated death before.
Yes,
How many times?
a few.
In fact, the man who walked away from one of the worst fires in U.S. history has a remarkable history of his own. He says he has survived 2 near drownings, a near fatal car crash, and something he did in a moment of despair after his father's accidental death.
Got on a motorcycle and slammed it into a dumpster. Maybe 60, 70 miles an hour. Motorcycle exploded on contact. I went flying about 30 feet in the air, landed on my back on pavement, got up and walked away.
And you're still here.
I'm still here.
And now this.
Now this. And I was telling my wife I need to go to church, sit down with the priest, and find out why I'm here. I'm not religious, but I want to know what it is I have to do so I can get started on it and do it. I don't want to keep going through these things and not knowing why.
But one question has been answered. What Mike Vargas would give his wife today for her birthday.
He asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I told him I already got my birthday gift. Tim being alive.
What are your plans? What are your thoughts?
Just live my life. Live my life as normal as possible. And just really, really cherish every moment I have.
Another chance.
Yet another.
While Mike Vargas doubts he will ever go to another rock concert, he says he will keep listening to his Great White CDs. Investigators want to talk to the surviving band members and to the club owners. A grand jury is being formed to investigate possible criminal charges in this case.
That's all for